It is Friday, early evening. I'm doing this now so that I can have some rest and relaxation later, which feels really good to decide that and make some time for it and make arrangements because I live with other people. So I have no idea if we'll be interrupted or not. It's possible that that might happen. Oh, look at me. I look like I'm in some kind of CoverGirl shoot here with my wind blowing, or my hair blowing in the wind. Anyway, regardless, I'm in a bit better space than I was yesterday. Certainly showing up exactly how I am at every moment. And yesterday, getting some, genuine responses to, thanks for keeping it real. Thanks for sharing your journey. I really appreciate getting that feedback and knowing that somebody's listening and somebody's watching, and that potentially you care. And I think that that matters. And today I had a bit of a shift around, holy crap, realistically, I have so much to be grateful for, and sometimes I forget when I'm in that state or I'm in that mood and I've been ticked off or I've been triggered and it feels grubby and chunky and crunchy. Sometimes I get lost in the, life's not fair kind of stream of thinking, and it doesn't help me, it doesn't help anybody else. However, I also don't want to try and fake that I'm not actually feeling that. So I allow myself the space to feel it, and then I get really serious at trying to guide myself out of that place. So today that has shifted a bit, and I was talking with my son and his wife this morning. Just less than 100 days ago, we were in north of Africa. We were in Morocco and we were riding camels in the Sahara Desert, and I was having the literally most epic adventure of my life. I had a monkey sit on my shoulder and break peanuts on my head, which then fell into my bra, which was a lovely experience. But my point being that I had this, epic journey to the UK, which, also included Spain, and 37,000 kilometers traveled by train, plane, and automobile. I think that was all that we traveled in. And just how lucky we were and how blessed I felt on that trip. One thing about traveling is it's potentially perspective building. When we were in Morocco, we were there for an extended period of time. We stayed right in the Medina, which is crazy and definitely not COVID friendly. We left for our trip mid-January. We came back just sort of mid to late February. And like I said, within a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks of being home, all of a sudden COVID hit us here in Canada. And even though it was in the background while I was traveling, I wasn't privy to any of the news. So, not that I tune into it anyway, but I could hear it in the background. It was somewhere way back there, but I wasn't worried about it. It wasn't something that I was fretting about. I did never feel nervous while I was traveling at all. It wasn't until I came home and the sort of, the fact that I was on the beach in Spain 2 weeks prior to their major lockdown, their whole country being locked down. I was in Barcelona and I was enjoying Spain and the streets and the people and all of the energy and the beach, sitting on the beach watching the waves crash and walking in a little bit, in the middle of February, which is pretty amazing to me. And so, in those moments when I feel down and hard done by and I'm triggered and things seem sometimes pointless and certainly heavy and hard, that it just takes shifting that stuff to understanding how grateful I am for the life that I live. I love our personal space here. I feel at home here. So the last couple of months hasn't been feeling like a prison, which is nice because I know that some people have that experience, especially if they're alone, and feeling isolated. And remembering back to all these unknowns in traveling. I didn't know what I was going to do when I traveled. People kept saying, well, it's a lot of walking. And this fat girl went, what? Walking? I don't do that very well. It's not my favorite thing to do. But because there was no other choice but to walk, because what I wanted to see was far away, for one, and there was only certain modes of transit or transportation that I could take. So really, ultimately, I was always at choice to whether or not to participate But I continued to dial myself in at that point in time, and I had these most amazing epic adventures because I just kept saying, what's next? Yes, jump in with both feet. What's next? The unknown is scary, granted, but I got to see so much of the landscape. I got to see so many of the people. I got to see so much of the lifestyle and the way things are in other countries. And the fact that it's a third world country, and I come home to my first world country, and I am blessed, and understanding, it just creates perspective. There's a scope there, and not to say that their way of doing things is wrong or bad. I just know that it built a lot of gratitude for the life that I live, understanding how systemic poverty is in other countries. And even though we have that here by all means, it's different. I don't know how to explain it other than when I saw it and experienced it. It was eye-opening, breathtaking, saddening, exciting, all of those things. And so since that point in time, I think this is day 81 of videos. 81 days ago, I decided when things were getting locked down that I would start coming here and talking to whoever's listening every day and sharing my insights, sharing my journey at this point in time. And today I had the realization, T, be a little bit easy with yourself. You're going through some major transitions. I've completely revamped my eating. I'm not doing burgers and fast food. I'm not doing pop. I'm not doing chocolate, candy, any of the stuff that I was participating in, I'm no longer participating in. And apparently somebody's in retrograde and the moon is full and everything is intense in the air and there's a level of intensity and the frequency is real, right? Energy is real. So the frequency of that is so intense. It's a felt experience. So no wonder there are people a little bit beside themselves. No wonder people are feeling a little off. No wonder people are feeling emotional and exhausted. But there's so much to be grateful for. And so I just keep dialing myself into, what can I be grateful for today? What do I want today to look like? And design that by design. Adhering to the goals that I set out for myself and understanding that I'm fallible and I'm imperfect. And I continue to prove to myself that I can do things imperfectly and still bring consciousness around that and bring effort towards changing it. And I know emotionally for me, feeling up against my stuff because I'm exploring food. I'm exploring my addiction. My addiction to food has governed my life pretty much my whole life, as far back as I can ever remember. And this week when I was doing my 90 days with my nutritional coach, I was remembering, I became a mom at 17, but before that I rode horses and I was a good equestrian rider and I learned how to ride Western and I herded cattle in Alberta and I had these amazing epic adventures. I was a competitive swimmer. I swam at Canada Games Pool and then at Sun God in Delta as a competitive swimmer, and I was really good at it, and it kept me fit, and I would run to the pool every morning and then run home, shower, and go to school in grade 8. And then all of a sudden, things started to change, and that's when I think the abuse, self, and, from outside of myself, the abuse started, and at some point in time I decided that my worth was less than everybody else and that I needed to hustle my whole life in order to gain the trust and gain the worth and gain that I was enough. And I didn't know how to do it, but I always knew that I was never there. I always knew that it was uncomfortable because I was never there. It was never okay just to be me. It was never okay. It wasn't okay outside of myself because I got told that a lot, and therefore it became my truth. It got in me, it started to root deeply, it started to fester, and the fruit from that has been this long journey back to self-worth, self-realization, self-actualization, self-care, and over the last couple of months, I've definitely done the most self-care that I've ever done consistently, over time, consistently, every day, consistently being loyal to myself, being consistent and loyal to the things that I'm doing, the things that I agree to do, and in the pursuit of my dreams. And even though today that feels still far away and I'm not sure what it's going to look like, it's a fuzzy image at best. But as I walk towards it, it starts to sharpen. And I think to myself, well, who am I that someone's going to pay me? Who am I to speak about anything? Who am I that someone's going to listen? And I know from talking with other people and hearing their feedback and hearing them speak about their truths, I'm not alone in this. And so that's comforting, for one, to know that I'm not alone, because there have been many times in my life where I felt alone, where I felt like I was outside the crowd, outside the box. I really didn't fit, and maybe I never would. And this idea that, we fear so much about the things that we're inundated with, particularly as children, the trauma that we've seen and experienced by potentially non-intentional things that our parents have done and the society we grew up in. I grew up in the 70s, and people will tell you, we drank from the hose. We played outside till all hours of the day and night. We were left to our own devices a lot. I was a latchkey kid. I was one of the first latchkey kids. Did that end up me being pregnant at 17? It probably contributed to it. It probably did. Because my parents weren't around, so I had free reign, and I was of the mind that I knew everything, that I had it all figured out, and everybody just get out of my way. Well, 30 some odd years later, I'm like, wow, I still know nothing. I still, at 47, know nothing about anything. And so I'm learning. And I think that's the most important part, is that I have a willingness to learn. And I wonder, is there a place in your life where you could be willing to learn something new, take a look at something from a different vantage point, see with new eyes, hear with new ears? I know there's a lot of stuff going on out there right now that's being asked. Please listen. Please hear. Please respond in a different way. Please be willing to shift. Please be willing to educate yourself. Please be willing to be part of the solution, because if not, you're automatically part of the problem. And so my choice every day is, even in those moments of crunchiness, even in those moments where I don't feel like doing this and I'm in resistance and I want to just to the world, I know that this too shall pass. I wrote that in my post last night. This too shall pass. And so just allow myself to be there, understanding that if I stay there, it's a choice. And if I choose to formulate a strategic plan of getting out of that place, and I continue to forge forward, even though I'm up against my stuff, even though I'm having all of these feelings, and finding the grace within the idea. Right. You just change your entire eating pattern that you've had for most of your life. That's bound to bring up some emotions. I'm taking a look at why I've eaten food, what I've eaten. Sugar is apparently more addictive than cocaine, which is amazing to me. And thankfully I liked sugar a whole lot more than I did cocaine. When I tried it way back in my 20s, and I was like, what is the hype about this? Thank God it was food. Even though, regardless of what we use to do too much of, ingesting things, smoking things, drinking things, toting things, too much exercise even. When we have too much of anything, we're out of balance. We're out of sync. We're out of alignment. And so I'm just learning how to explore those things with compassion. And yesterday, I didn't have compassion for myself. I was pretty angry and resentful that I was in that position yet again. And what's wrong with me? And why do I continue to do this? And why are all these feelings up? And why? To shifting to today, isn't that interesting? These are feelings that are repetitive. I wonder why I'm experiencing them. What is the lesson in learning this? And it's probably something that I'm going to return to layer after layer after layer. And being okay with the fact that the moon governs things, my emotions, the world at large. There are things going on in the world that are unsettling, that I'm not sure where to stand or where to step. And I'm precautionary, but I'm dedicated. And I want to be the change. And here I am sharing with you just a few of the things that I'm thinking about today. So I hope that you are kind to yourself and others today, and I hope that you have a good evening this Friday evening, and I will see you